Alright, hey y'all, it's Miss Summers with a video today to help you on your assignment for population pyramid comparison. So you should have already done the notes on how to interpret a population pyramid. So if I give you one of those diagrams, you can tell me if that population is growing or shrinking or growing slowly. And we're going to look at those pyramids today, and we're going to look at a couple of factors that may influence population growth. Alright, and we're going to make a connection between things like economy and healthcare and how populations change, okay? So to start, you'll need a piece of paper or a document open on your computer. You can do this on paper or digitally. It makes no difference to me as long as you have the information and the idea. Okay, that's what I care about. All right, we're going to be looking at two different population pyramids of your choice. All right, so the website that we're going to use is populationpyramid.net. I have it pulled up here. This is what it looks like when you go to it. And you're going to choose a country from this list, list A, and a country from list B. Okay, I do not care which combination you pick. Ideally, we'll have lots of different combos, but you'll see the same thing, regardless of which ones you choose. All right, one from A, one from B. All right, so how we're going to set that up on our paper, let me go to my visualizer. So I have my big paper here. You can just use like a sheet of, like a computer paper, that's fine. But I'm going to divide it in half this way, and I'm going to leave a little space down here at the bottom. Okay? Now, I'm not going to pick countries from the list because I don't want you just to copy my work, but I do kind of want to show you where I'm going with it. So I'm going to pick one country, Tajikistan. It's like former Soviet Union out in kind of like Central Asia-ish. And Denmark. That's my other country. Okay, so I have the country names there. All right, so now I'm going to go back to my pyramids. All right, step one, draw the population pyramid for each one. All right, so to find the country, let's start with Tajikistan. I go to the letter that it starts with, so T, and it's right there. Okay. An approximation is okay, all right? So it does not have to be like perfectly to scale. I do not need every single one of these little bars. I just want the general shape, okay? So in Tajikistan, there's a lot. There's like a whole bunch of folks down here, a lot of babies 0 to 4 years old. So I'll draw a big line there. And there's a little bit less of the next age group up, and a little bit less of the next one, and then it gets a little bit less again, and then it kind of goes back out, all right, and then it kind of works its way up, all right. I don't need you. I do not need y'all. Let me show you my paper. I don't need the... Whoa, that's really trippy. I don't like that. I didn't want that at all. That's not what I wanted. That's what I wanted. So I don't need like the percentages or anything. If you want to add those, that's totally cool. If you're doing this digitally and you just want to like take a screenshot of it, that's cool too. Okay? So I'll do the same thing for Denmark. So I'm going to go for D for Denmark. I'm going to draw my little setup. You can see Denmark's pyramid looks way, way, way different. So I have like a really little group down there at the bottom. And it stays pretty consistent. It goes out like ever so slightly. But then it stays consistent. And then it goes out a little bit more. And then it kind of starts to narrow again at the top. Because humans have a certain lifespan. Alright, so it looks a little more like this. Okay, so we have two different shapes. These shapes mean something. Alright, so now I'm going to go back to my instructions. State the current population. Alright, so I'm going to go to my graph, or my paper I should say, and I'm going to say current population. Current population. All right, and then I go back here to my population pyramid. So Denmark, and that's actually 2019. If it's 2019 or 2020, that's irrelevant. It shouldn't have changed a dreadful lot. So in Denmark, there's 5,792,203 people. In Tajikistan, I go back to Tajikistan, there's 9,537,642 people. All right, check. State the estimated population. All right, so I'm going to go to my paper. I'm going to say estimated population in 2050, so that's 30 years from now. So about one generation from now. Let's take a look-see-loo. To get the 2050 population, I'm going to look at this graph and I'm going to scoot it over to 2050 and click. In Tajikistan, there's going to be an estimated 16,208,245 people. And in Denmark, go back to D for Denmark. In Denmark, there will be an estimated 6,245,374. Okay? For these next ones, I'm going to let you, you can figure these out. State which age group is the largest, and is the population growing rapidly, slowly, or shrinking? All right. So to find the largest age group, you're going to look for, so make sure you go back to 2020. For the largest age group, you're going to look at the actual pyramid and these percentages, and you're going to look for which group has the most people. And if I look, the folks who are 50 to 54, if I'm doing my math correctly, that's 7.3% of the population is here. All right, so between like 50 and 60 years old, it looks like that's where the most people are. Those are the biggest bars. That's my biggest group. In Tajikistan, my biggest group is definitely down here, the babies, people who are 0 to 4 years old, okay? And then from here, you can determine whether it's shrinking, growing, whatever, okay? Now, the next part. This is where people get a little confused. These next two things, the GDP per capita and the healthcare expenditure per capita, okay? So let's do the GDP first. GDP is gross domestic product. It's basically how much money does your country generate, how much revenue do they generate. So GDP per capita. Per capita means per person. And we want to make sure we have that because these places don't necessarily have the same number of people in them. Okay? So the GDP per capita in Denmark, I'm going to write GDP, and I'm on my Denmark side, is $61,350.35 in American money. That's how much money, if you took all of Denmark's economic activity and divided it amongst them on a per person basis, that's how much each person would have. All right? That's pretty good. Tajikistan, we're going to do the same thing. You'll note Tajikistan's is a lot lower. Tajikistan's is only $826.62 per capita. Okay? If you get a number that is like in the millions or billions, you did not do per capita. Make sure you do per capita. Okay? And lastly, healthcare expenditure. Okay? So we did, let me go back here for y'all. All right, so I have my current, my estimated population, my age group, the pattern, is it growing or shrinking, blah, blah. GDP, healthcare, all right? Healthcare affects population a lot because it determines like things like child mortality, you know, how many people make it to their 5th birthday, all sorts of shenanigans that are going to affect population. All right, so let's look at that. To find healthcare expenditure, okay, we are going to type in healthcare expenditure, and then you can do per capita, and the first result will give you, or the first result should be this Data World Bank. If you click on that, It'll take a second to load. Current healthcare expenditure per capita in current US dollars. So you will get this chart, or this list, countries, the most recent year, and the most recent value. All right? And they're all in alphabetical order for your convenience. So Denmark's right here. So as of 2017, Denmark's healthcare expenditure per capita was $5,800.15. That's how much money the Danish government spent on healthcare per person on average. All right. In Tajikistan, it was, Tajikistan's way down here in the T's, $57.90 per person. Okay? So I'm going to make sure all those numbers are on there. So now I have all this data. Now I got to put it together. Okay? How do these numbers affect these numbers? How do these numbers affect these numbers? Okay? So for down here, you're going to write some statements about healthcare and GDP, blah, blah, blah. All right? So you're going to say, as healthcare expenditure, and you can do increases or decreases, doesn't matter which one. You're going to say how the population is affected. The population either will tend to grow, shrink, whatever. And then I want you to think about why. This is because people blah, 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 blah. Okay, so you can go back to the notes. I talk a little bit about this, why healthcare changes it, etc., etc. Okay? If a country has, and you could say either a high GDP or a lower GDP, the population, blah, 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 blah. And then you can say why. This is because. All right? So we're taking data and we're drawing conclusions. All right? Make sure, if you still have questions after watching this video, send me an email and I will get back to you.